He was photographing the city, not knowing what he was looking for. She was just passing by, thinking about coffee and small things. One accidental frame crossed their paths, and sent him searching for her through streets, light, and shadows. This is a story about how a stranger becomes destiny, how silence can say more than words, and how love begins with a moment you can't repeat, but can carry with you forever.
Love Stories Max. Welcome to my channel. Enjoy watching, friends.
This frame is forever. I never thought of myself as someone who walks straight into destiny. I'm more the kind of person who misses buses, tangles her headphones in her pockets, and always orders coffee to go, even when she plans to sit for just 5 minutes. That morning was no different. I was nowhere in a hurry, and somehow late for everything at once. The city was in a strange mood. Sunlight slid across shop windows. The air smelled like fresh asphalt and croissants, and the trams rang as if they were quietly joking with one another. I was walking, counting cracks in the pavement, when I heard a familiar sound. A click, a camera. I didn't realize right away that it had anything to do with me. Someone was standing near an old cafe, leaning forward slightly, as if he were talking to the city itself. A tall guy in a light jacket, a camera around his neck, wearing the focused expression of someone who sees more than most people do. I took a step, and stopped. He looked up, our eyes met, and that's when I made that same awkward half-smile I always make when I don't know whether to apologize or run away. I said, "Brilliant." He blinked, smiled. "Sorry," he said, "you just fit into the frame perfectly." I looked at the coffee in my hand, at the old sign behind me, at the patch of sunlight on the cobblestones. I have a talent for showing up where I'm not supposed to. He laughed, not loudly, more like his laughter was a personal secret. "Actually," he said, "exactly where you were supposed to be." I walked on, thinking it was just a funny little moment. One of those city details that happen and disappear. I didn't know that for him, that photo had already become the best one. I found out later. Jack was photographing the city for a project. Not postcard views, but real life. Morning shadows, people with half-finished coffee, unexpected smiles. And when I accidentally stepped into the frame, caught between steps, hair slightly messy, thoughts somewhere else, the photo came alive. He told me later. Every other shot had the city in it. That one had meaning. And then came the funniest part. He decided to find me. Imagine this. Jack, an adult, serious photographer, walking around the city, studying strangers' faces as if he were looking for a lost star. He went into cafes, asked baristas, sat on the same steps where we'd crossed paths, waited, watched, photographed, and waited again. Meanwhile, the city led me in circles. I changed my route a few times because this way looks prettier, walked into the wrong shops, turned back because I'd forgotten my notebook, stopped to pet a cat who clearly owned the street. And then, one day, I was standing by that cafe again. Again with coffee. Yes, I'm consistent. And suddenly, a voice. Now I'm sure this isn't an accident. I turned around. He was holding his camera, but he wasn't looking through the lens. He was looking at me. A little nervous. A little happy. I'm Jack, he said. And I've spent the last week looking for the girl who accidentally became my favorite photograph. I laughed. Truly laughed. That's the most romantic thing anyone's ever said to me, and also the most unsettling. I wanted to ask your permission to use the photo, he added quickly. Or, he paused, to meet destiny. I wasn't sure which one would happen. I looked at him, at the city, at the light between the buildings. I guess today I have time for both. We walked for a long time. He showed me the city as if it were an old friend. I shared small things. How I love listening to rain tapping on windows. How I'm afraid of losing my favorite pens. How I always believe the best is still ahead. He took photos, but more often, he just looked. And I caught myself wishing I could stay in that day. In that light. In that click that once stopped me in my tracks. Now he has the photo. And I have a story that started by accident, and continues very much on purpose. Because sometimes you're just passing by. And sometimes, you become someone's favorite shot. After that day, the city stopped being just a city. It became something we shared. Jack didn't text often, but when he did, it always mattered. Not, how are you? But, the light today feels like it wants to be photographed. Or, I walked past that cafe. It felt like it was waiting. We met without rushing. Sometimes we just walked in silence, and somehow, it felt perfect. He would stop when a shadow caught his eye, and I'd wait, watching his back, thinking how strange it was that for once, I didn't want time to move faster. He taught me how to look. At cracks in old walls, at windows glowing warmly, at people holding hands without realizing it. I taught him how to let go of the camera. Sometimes, to simply be. One evening, we sat on a rooftop. The city breathed slowly below us. I got cold, and without a word, he placed his jacket over my shoulders, as if it were the most obvious thing in the world. You know, he said, I was looking for you because I thought I needed permission to use a photo. He smiled. And it turns out, I just needed you. I didn't answer. I just rested my head on his shoulder. Some things don't need words. Now he has a series of photographs, and one picture he never shows anyone. And I have mornings with his messages, evenings with warm tea, and the feeling that even an accident can have a future. Because sometimes love doesn't start with something grand. It starts when someone notices you, and never wants to lose you from the frame. He called our first official date this. No camera. I promise. I smiled. And if the light is perfect? Then I'll remember it, he said. Not everything needs to be photographed. We agreed to meet near a small bakery that always smelled like vanilla and warm dough. I arrived early. Of course. I stood there pretending to read messages, while actually watching my reflection in the window and trying to calm my heart, which was acting like this wasn't a date, but a parachute jump. He was 3 minutes late. Sorry, he said. The sun was reflecting off the windows. I got a little lost. That's the most beautiful reason to be late, I said. We bought pastries and walked without a plan. We talked about small things. Favorite movies, strange childhood fears, music you're slightly embarrassed to love. He told me he always photographs sunrises because they're honest. I admitted I love rain because it doesn't expect anything from you. In the park, we sat on a bench. He nervously turned his paper coffee cup in his hands. I don't really know what first dates are supposed to look like, he said. But I like just sitting here with you. Me too, I said. That's probably a good sign. When he took my hand, it was very gentle, as if he were asking permission not with words, but with touch. I squeezed his fingers back. On the way home, we stopped near that same cafe. The one where everything had started. It's strange, he said. I searched the whole city for you. And now I don't want to leave. I looked at him. Then don't. He smiled like it was the best shot of his life. Our first argument was ridiculous. That's usually how they are when feelings are still too new to know how to handle them. He cancelled our plans. A short message. I'm sorry. Project deadline. I can't make it. I read it 3 times. The first time, calmly. The second, with hurt. The third, with thoughts you should never have alone. We met the next day. The air between us was tight, like a stretched thread. He explained, quickly, a little clumsily. I listened, but mostly stayed quiet. Do you always do this? I blurted out. Do what? He asked, confused. Choose the camera, the work, the shot, and people come second. He went silent, and that silence hurt more than words. That's not fair, he said softly. You don't know how much you mean to me. Then why do I feel like I'm optional? I asked, my voice betraying me. We stood in the middle of the street. The city moved around us, as if it didn't want to interfere. He stepped closer, then closer again. Because I'm scared, he said. I've spent my whole life hiding behind a lens. And with you, there's nowhere to hide. I looked at him and suddenly understood. We weren't fighting because we didn't fit. We were fighting because we cared. I don't want to be the background, I whispered. You're the center, he said immediately. I'm just learning how to show it. Time passed. Not the kind measured by calendars, but the kind recognized by habits. I learned to wake up earlier because he loved morning light. He learned to slow down because I always found something important along the way. We left cups where we'd had tea the night before. We knew when to be quiet. We knew when to hold hands tighter. He still photographed the city. But now, his frames held silence. The warm, living, honest kind. Sometimes I saw myself in his photos. Reflections in windows, shadows on walls, a hand on a railing. Not directly, but everywhere.